Everybody, welcome into another edition of the Windy City Breakdown. Tony Andracki here, joined by Kyle Millinowisch and Andy Martínez, and we're going to discuss a lot going on with the Cubs. The trade deadline has not happened yet. Today's Wednesday morning. The trade deadline is on Monday, August 3rd, so we got about 5 days still. Definitely more to come on that. But first off, how you guys doing, Kyle? I know you're in typical blogger podcast form in your parents' basement right now due to some house stuff. The power went out with a big storm this week, but how you guys holding up?
Yeah, I can't believe nobody else lost power. It's freaking insane.
My basement flooded a bit, but no power loss.
What's funny, I don't know, during the peak of the storm, I was with my son, the 1.5-year-old, and I was just I couldn't have been closer to the window, just looking outside. I was like, damn, this is kind of sick. And I was dropping him off for my parents to watch. And my mom's like, what are you doing by the window? I was like, look at the rain. Like, this is insane. Like, get away from the window. But yeah, no, I'm good. I don't know. No power. You got to have new appreciation for AC, electricity, all those things.
You're like the Europeans that came over for the World Cup.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
You're like the Europeans that came over for the World Cup because they don't have AC in Europe.
I never knew that was a thing until this year.
Me neither.
Do Europeans just not use AC?
I mean, I kind of figured when I was there a couple of years ago, most of the place I walked into was like, I mean, it was not comfortable. The hotels we stayed at all had AC, so I kind of just expected like, oh, some places do, some places don't.
Yeah,
it gets hot. Like when we were in Spain, it was like 98 degrees the time we were there. So it's not like it's cool and you can kind of get through it. Like it was hot.
Did you have trouble if they were like, oh, it's 37 or whatever that would be in Celsius, and you're like, what the fuck?
No, because like you had your phone, so you could like actually see. Like I could pull up the weather app and I'd be like, all right, 90, 96. All right, cool.
All right, so if it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit, what is that in Celsius?
Like 34, 35.
Yeah, see, that's dumb.
What I don't understand about it is I feel like Celsius just has such a smaller range. Whereas like it's so easy to just go 0 to 100. If it's 0 degrees, which obviously we have that entire 120 degree span in Chicago. If it's 0 degrees, it's fucking cold. If it's 100 degrees, it's really hot. But like with Celsius, it's like 30 to 34 degrees and it's like a wide range. If it's 30 degrees, you're probably really comfortable. If it's 34 degrees, you're like, it's just too much.
No. 30 degrees is still really hot.
Okay.
30 degrees is still really hot. Zero in Celsius is like 33 degrees ours.
Okay.
Because it's
right,
based
still,
on
it doesn't feel like enough.
Zero. Sure, I get that. Yeah.
All right.
I don't like either way. I don't like. We got on a tangent there.
Yeah.
Fuck Celsius.
Yeah, that's what you guys come to us for. Our Cubs and Chicago sports takes and our thoughts on Celsius and Fahrenheit. And tune in next week. We'll discuss the metric system and then the Dewey Decimal System the weekend after that. So,
but like I'm looking at it right now. Like, okay, 100 degrees Fahrenheit is 37.8 degrees Celsius. But then if you got to like, where the fuck? I don't even actually know. I don't know where I went. I digress. Just
yeah,
we'll move on.
Anyways, Alex Bregman, Nico Hoerner have been really good since the start of the second half here. Obviously, I kind of a quick tangent. I feel like we need to start calling it something different than a half because when the Cubs play like 94 games or whatever it was before the All-Star break,
it's not a half,
and then have like 66 or whatever it ended. I think it might have been 96 before the break and 66 after, whatever. It's like that's not a half, yeah. So, but that's the colloquial term. So, second half, Nico Hoerner, Alex Bregman have been a lot different. So, I'm going to give you guys the numbers. And Kyle, I know you said you had some numbers too, so they're different than mine. Feel free, but. These two guys combined, two of the Cubs' most important hitters, guys who began the year hitting 1-2 quite a bit. They combined in the first half, 237 average, 321 on base, 343 slugging. That's terrible. 664 OPS total, right? That was just the overall line was so far from what anybody would have expected from either of these guys based on the back of their baseball cards. But things are heating up. Since the break, 360 average combined, the two of them, 396 on base, 517 slug, 913 OPS. Alex Bregman, who had not had more than 2 homers in a calendar month, now has 4 because he has 2 since the break, 2 right before the break. Nico Hoerner, who went like 3 months without a homer, just homered the other night. And both of them have had a big series in St. Louis so far. They've had a big stretch since the All-Star break. But Kyle, I'll start with you. Just what do you make of this and how important is this to the Cubs offense when Nico and Bregman are hitting the way that they are.
Well, do you think it's because Alex Bregman wore high socks on Monday?
I think that's a big factor. I know you have another theory, but high socks make you swing faster and run faster. So that's just science.
I mean, his first multi-home run game with the Cubs, he was wearing high socks. So maybe he goes high socks. There wasn't a doubt in my mind he was going to go high socks on Tuesday after he had that big game on Monday. I believe that was his first 4-hit game with the Cubs. And yeah, Nico,
sure, yeah.
By the way, Nico, we never even talked about that. Nico was also wearing high socks on Monday.
We didn't talk about that. Yeah.
How crazy is this? So you obviously in your bold prediction that we like to mess with you is that Nico was going to have 15 home runs this year, and yeah, he hit 4 in April, and we're like, all right. And then his little slump, however you want to say that started. We won't get into that, but he went 80 games without a home run, which is just that. So you literally went half a season without a home run.
Wow,
which is bonkers.
You take that out of it, and I was dead on with my prediction. You take out half a season, and I was right.
I mean, I think I joked with you. When he was on the heater to start the year. I was like, 15 might be too small of a prediction. Like, I think you have to go higher.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It wasn't like the most outrageous thing to say that. Now that they're heating up, it's so funny that the Cubs are 27-12 in their last 39 games, where that was like what they started the season. And yeah, they're back. I believe 15 games over 500 ties their season high. When those two go, I mean, when any of these guys go, but specifically those two guys, like two bats in the middle of your lineup, it just lengthens the lineup. And that's what the Cubs lineup is right now. It looks so deep. I mean, you have obviously PCA MVP candidate to say a Bush. You go down the list. Like, where's there really a weak spot before you get to, like, I mean, if you could say Dansby hitting 9th is your weak spot, but he obviously hasn't been atrocious as of late. So those two hitting, it really does lengthen the lineup, and the Cubs are reaping the rewards of it right now.
It's funny you brought up the 27-12. So if I have this right, the Cubs went 27-12, 15 above 500. Then they went 15 below 500 for whatever stretch of games that was. And now they're 15 above 500, 27-12 in their last 39 games. So they've had, I mean, it's just been a tale of two seasons essentially, where it's like these just incredible swings of the best team in baseball, the one of the worst, if not the worst. I can't remember exactly where they were during that other stretch. And then another 39 game stretch where the only reason they're not the best team in baseball is because the Red Sox won 15 straight or whatever it was. I think it was 15 straight during that stretch. And they're like one game better than the Cubs over the last 39. So it's just unreal. But Andy, like, just how important are Nico and Bregman to this? And, the Cubs offense in general is firing on all cylinders right now. Can they maintain this? Is another 10-game losing streak incoming?
Well, yeah, I was going to make the joke that, like, I'm kind of worried about what's coming next for the Cubs, because if they're this streaky, I mean, you got to think a bad streak's coming. But in all seriousness, like, this is what, I think if you would have asked anyone with the Cubs, or if you would have asked us, or if anyone else covering the Cubs, you would have thought that the lineup was going to be a strength, right? Like, it was just going to be a deeper lineup where it's like, maybe you won't have like a Shohei or a Yordan Alvarez or someone like that that's going to carry the offense. And I know I'm saying this as PCA is like literally doing that, but like going into the season, you probably didn't think you would have someone like that. So you thought the strength of the lineup was going to be like, all right, 1 through 9, you're going to have good at bats. You're going to have a deep lineup where, maybe number 2's slumping, but number 7's going to pick it up, and vice versa. And I think the problem, as we discussed really intensely throughout this podcast, was during that slump where they were really, really struggling in one of the worst offenses, if not the worst offense in baseball. It was you didn't have anyone contributing, and you had basically all 9 guys slumping at one time, and you're not seeing that. You're seeing what the lineup was expected to be, and I think it's a lineup that can put up runs and beat anyone. I mean, like, this was kind of a big series for the Cardinals, right? Like, the Cardinals were overperforming, and we were hoping to maybe add at the deadline and try and make a playoff push going into a rebuilding year. And the Cubs just smoked them, right? And basically knocked them out of being buyers into like full on like they were probably going to sell anyway, but like if there was any doubt, that kind of confirmed it. It was kind of a little, to me, reminiscent of 2023, where Mike Tauchman had that catch, robbed the home run, essentially like the walk-off catch.
That was 3 years ago yesterday.
Was it? Yeah, because it was. Yeah. I remember it was around the deadline, and like that kind of cemented their position for the Cubs to buy. And it was like, it's just funny. Like, I feel like St. Louis around the trade deadline Like I like that when the Cubs play the Cardinals around July 4th. They did it again this year, and they did it last year. Kind of like playing. I like seeing the Cubs play the Cardinals around the trade deadline. I think it makes for fun baseball, and I feel like there's always a storyline with the trade deadline and what a team's going to do.
Yeah. So they had an interesting stat on Marquee last night, Tuesday night in the game. Can't remember exactly what it was, but basically it's been like the two teams have gone in opposite directions since the last series that they've played. The Cardinals have really cratered, and the Cubs are now 27-12 since the last time they played. Do you remember exactly what it was, Kyle?
It was since June 11th. It was the Cardinals had the 29th record in baseball. I think they were 16-25, so now 16-26, and then the Cubs were since June 11th, we're 26-12, and now 27-12. The second best record, right behind that. I believe it's the
Red Sox. Yeah,
you say the Red Sox. Yeah, but just going in complete opposite directions.
Yeah, and Andy, to your point, I mean, maybe this does change the Cardinals' equation at the deadline. I don't know how much they were really going to buy and go hard on that because they're kind of ahead of schedule right now. I think Jordan Walker obviously is huge for them. JJ Weatherholt, Ivan Herrera, some of these guys are nice pieces that should be around for a while, but I don't think they anticipated being a true contender right now. But yeah, I mean, they seem like this stretch, they're pretty much falling out of it. I also don't think there are too many pieces on the Cardinals that really be worthwhile sells. So I don't think this has a major impact on the Cubs. Plus, it's just really hard to trade in the division. You don't see many trades between the Cubs and the Cardinals or the Cubs and the Brewers because these are three teams that are typically going head-to-head quite often in the division. I don't think we're going to see Kenny Lofton or Ramos Ramirez coming to Chicago type trade that we saw in 2003. It's just a different world nowadays. Andy, go ahead. You look like you want to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I wasn't necessarily saying that they were going to trade amongst each other or saying the Cardinals were going to trade, but like I do. Yeah, I do think like it is funny that I remember talking to someone in the Cubs front office where it's like it is kind of silly that like in a vacuum teams in the division don't want to trade with each other because like why would it necessarily matter to the Cardinals who they trade to if it's the Cubs that gets them their best package and it's the best fit for the Cubs, like why wouldn't you make the trade? But like obviously like they also understand the optics and like the situation of like you're still technically competing against one another. Because I always think back to I think it was the 22 deadline where they had Wilson. Like it was clear that like the Cardinals' number one need that deadline was a catcher, and Wilson Contreras was the best catcher on the market, but that trade was just never going to happen. And it was like, well, like the perfect matchup, the perfect pair to trade, and it was just never going to happen because just individual trades don't happen. And I think we're going to see that potentially this deadline with like Tarek Skubal. I think would be like the perfect fit for someone like the White Sox or the Guardians or someone like that. But that trade's just, if he's going to get traded, it's not going to be to the AL Central.
Yeah, and I think the trade deadline, it still has yet to take shape as we are recording, like you said, Wednesday morning. It looks maybe a little more likely that Tarek Skubal is going to be moved. The Tigers have kind of fallen off a bit. The Mets, I think, have pretty much come out and said that they're going to sell. I mean, there's no way that they're not going to. And they have a ton of pitchers. They have like 4 relievers, the Mets do, and at least 2 starting pitchers in Freddie Peralta and Clay Holmes who are kind of worthwhile. So a lot of other teams out there to target from the Cubs perspective. The real interesting one I'm looking at is the Twins and whether Joe Ryan ends up getting moved. And that's somebody the Cubs we know have had interest in the past. Is he a controllable starter that the Cubs feel like they want to give a package up for? But starting pitching is something that we just know the Cubs are going to add at the deadline pitching. Whether it's a closer, whether it's high leverage relievers, but I think it's a guarantee, right, that they're going to add a starting pitcher at the very least, because in part they have an opening in the rotation. Jameson Taillon was designated for assignment this week was that Monday morning, right? That was or Monday early afternoon.
Monday afternoon.
Yeah. That was a little bit of a surprise. Not necessarily a surprise in terms of his production on the field. As of Monday, that might have changed in the last day or two, but as of Monday, he had given up the most homers in the league, 25, despite missing like almost 2 months with the hamstring injury, at least a month and a half plus. So he's only thrown about 76 innings, but still gave up the most home runs in the majors. He was on pace to blow by his previous career high in home runs allowed. It was like 8 of his 15 starts. He allowed multiple homers. You can't win when your starting pitcher is giving up that many homers. The Cubs surprisingly won quite a few of those games, but like that's not sustainable. And that's not for a starting pitcher to have an ERA near 6 or right around 6 for that length of time. You can't win if you want to be a contender. And he also has never really worked out of the bullpen. I think he's had 1 relief appearance during his 4 years with the Cubs' tenure. So it's
Kyle's wedding date.
Oh
It was
yeah,
Kyle's wedding date. I'm not the date guy, but I remember. They were trying to get into the playoffs, and David Ross and the Cubs were pulling every lever, and he came out of the bullpen on
That's
Kyle's
right.
For
wedding night.
when? I didn't hear you.
the day when
Jameson
you were
Taillon's
walking
only
down the
relief
aisle.
appearance.
Did he come out of the bullpen that day?
Yeah,
Andy's right.
because
Yeah,
it was the last day they were mathematically alive in the 2023 season. They needed to win to have a shot.
Yeah, I didn't watch that game.
yeah.
I thought maybe you had it on your
Yeah.
phone, like just you know.
They
on the
won
side.
though. Didn't Morel hit a walk or a grand slam in the first or something? Yeah, we can. Don't worry.
I think they
yeah,
did win. I was in Milwaukee. I was unable to attend Kyle's wedding because I had to cover it. Still mathematically alive. Such a shame. But I feel like it's really memorable days. I mean, we all remember what happened the day Andy got married with the Cubs game, right? 21-0.
23,
23,
right?
23 nothing. You're right. 23.
No,
Or
it
was
was
it 21?
21 nothing.
It was
21?
21.
Okay.
Okay. It was
And
on
you got
April
married on
23rd.
the 23rd.
Yeah, that was.
That's yeah.
Yeah, they
Stay
threw
hot.
me. They threw
Anyways,
me a big
April.
birthday party. Yes, and then the day I got married, Kyle, what happened? Frank Schwindel walk off.
Frank Schwindel walk-off infield single against the
Yes.
Pirates.
Yes.
Well, I remember that one because
You were there.
David Ross tested positive for COVID, so I couldn't go to the wedding because I had been interviewing. Like, I was in the scrum. I was near it. I was considered a close contact.
Yes.
Yeah.
So crazy events when from the Cubs when one of us gets married. But crazy week for the Cubs, and JMO got DFA'd at Indy. Just kind of initial thoughts on this. We know how much he meant to the clubhouse. I forget who it was this week said he was like on a Mount Rushmore of teammates, and that was what we've observed. I mean, he was really like an A+ guy in terms of like character, intangibles, teammate. Just one of my favorite guys to cover over my entire stretch covering the Cubs, not just in the last 4 years, but over the last, decade and a half.
Yeah, he was easily one of my favorite players to cover. He was just a great human being, always available. He was always at his locker, which I think fans might not care or know this, but like, a lot of times players aren't around at the locker room, right? Like, or in the clubhouse, they're either doing their thing or maybe they don't want to talk to media. Like Jameson Taillon, outside of start days or maybe days he was throwing a bullpen or something like that, like always was at his locker, always available, always at least tried to give time to reporters to be able to tell a story or to be able to like help with us doing our work. But what was, I'm to your point, Tony, like results wise, not surprised, right? Like if someone's performing like he is, anyone else, it's not a question. Like you're going to part ways or you're going to move him, you're going to DFA him, you're going to release him, whatever it is. With him, it was more shocking because of like, there's been so much track record of like struggles and then finding success. But like, the runway's kind of short, right? Like there's only 2 months left of the season and you're trying to compete for, maybe you still believe you have an outside chance of winning the division. You're definitely trying to compete for a lengthy playoffs run and to get into the playoffs. So like, you don't have the runway to every fifth day be not giving yourself a chance to even win. You're not going to win every day, but if you're not even giving yourself a chance to win, like, that's just hurting you. And sure, maybe you could say, like, if you really, really, really wanted to put on like the positivity glasses, like, oh yeah, maybe there's a couple innings here where like you see, but like when he's having these good innings, it kind of feels like it comes after like he's given up 2 home runs in the game, right? And it's like, all right, the game's already over. Like approaches change and the way hitters are game planning like change. Like it's totally different. Like you can't make that up. And so in that sense, yes, it just made sense that they had to part ways. But it was still shocking because you're right. You mentioned he's a leader. It was Dansby that said he was on the Mount Rushmore of teammates, and I was listening to Nico Hoerner and Ian Happ on 104.3 The Score, chatting about like how sad of a day it was, and I was talking to someone with the Cubs, like saying like, oh man, it was so like that Monday was so sad, like it was just really, really tough. It's like this guy was like not just to the 25 other guys in the clubhouse, but to the organization, was just such a big guy to like what they meant or like what he meant to them. And so like from that aspect, it was very, very shocking and surprising to see him go. But again, from a purely performance standpoint, and he acknowledged it, right? Like he mentioned after that start on Sunday where he was like, I know this is a results-based business and I know I'm not helping the team win. And that was always something I appreciated about him too, is he was always very honest, right? Like he wasn't like, oh, like I'm working through this, so it'll be fine. It's like, no, he was telling you the way it is, and he told you, and essentially what was his final interview as a Chicago Cub.
Yeah, and it's also just kind of crazy how quickly this changes, right? Like he was, I would say, the most important starting pitcher for the Cubs in the playoffs last year. And he had a really, really good season. He was injured last year, and that's kind of been the theme the last couple of years with him, is just unable to stay on the field and take the ball every fifth day, or I guess nowadays sort of every sixth birthday. But yeah, he was the guy in the playoffs. Game 3 of the wild card series, the do or die game. He pitched well. I think it was game 3 of the wild card series, right?
Yeah,
sorry, of the
4 innings against the Padres.
of the
Both.
DS. Yeah, it was game 3 of the DS back at Wrigley where the Cubs were down 2-0 and they needed a victory. And he went on and pitched well. And then Matthew Boyd pitched well in game 4 and got into that do or die game 5. So he got some huge outs for the Cubs, particularly in October last year. But I think really even down the stretch last year and over the last couple of years, he had a really rough first half and a really rough kind of first half of his first season, really rough fourth season here, but overall kind of in between those bookends, he's a really good pitcher for the Cubs. And for 4 years, $68 million. I mean, I think the Cubs would do that deal again if they had to go back in time for 4 years
100%.
and do that. And it's kind of a shame that this happened, but you're right, Andy, that this is just where it's at. And Counsell said something really interesting, I think, about they couldn't quite figure out what was going on with JMO and why he was giving up home runs at the rate that he was. But they're like, we can't ignore the fact that the hitters are telling us something different. And the hitters clearly are on every pitch. It's a lot of lefties, but it's not just lefties. It's just they're hitting, they were just driving the ball off of Taillon. So really kind of difficult. But like, Kyle, what was your thoughts, perspective on this JMO move and the Cubs kind of making a really aggressive move to DFA a popular clubhouse guy, a guy who's been valuable for them in the past, and a guy who can get big outs that we've seen when they are pretty desperate for starting pitching?
Yeah, it was pretty shocking. I didn't know if they were just gonna, remove him from the rotation, try to put him in the bullpen. I certainly didn't think they were gonna designate him for assignment. So from that standpoint, it's definitely a surprise. But to me, it signals that Jed and co are all in. Right, this is a year that they're absolutely going for it. They're not gonna wait around and hope that a guy like JMO, who's well respected, is going to turn it around. That's their foot is on the gas, and I wonder if that makes it seem like at the trade deadline they're going to maybe do something more splashy now that there's obviously a hole in the rotation. So I wanted to ask you guys if there's a correlation there now that JMO's out of the rotation. Does that mean that a bigger trade or a trade of first starting pitchers on the horizon, or is it just Edward Cabrera might be coming back, Ben Brown might be coming back, and so they had options within their organization? What does that mean?
Go ahead, Andy. I'll let you go first.
I don't think it changes the game plan. Like, I think you still need, I think even best case scenario, you're probably looking at like JMO being a number 5 or maybe a number 4. So I think you were still looking at a near front of the rotation. I struggle to say ace because I don't think they'll be in the like Tarek Skubal conversation. So like I'll say like near top of the rotation starter. So I don't think that like necessarily changes their plans. I think it clearly heightens it because like right now, like, yeah, I know Javier Assad's last back into the rotation, but like now you don't have Longman. Like there's a trickle down effect, and you just need bulk innings. Like you need the innings. Like for his struggles, Jameson Taillon still give you 76 innings this year, and that can't be underscored. Like in a year where you've had so many injuries, the fact that you're able to get some innings is huge, and so you have to find innings somewhere from a starter. And I don't think it changes their plan to get a starting pitcher. I just don't know how. I'm not a big believer that until they do it, I'm not a big believer that they're going to make that big splash in the trade deadline, because there just hasn't been the course of action really since, I would say, before COVID, right? Like they haven't made a big trade, and I know part of that was because they were rebuilding. But even if you look at like the last two, like what's the biggest win now move that they've made? I would argue at the trade deadline, I would argue it's probably the Isaac Paredes move, right? Like it's probably that or Jamer Candelario, but Isaac Paredes was, I think, a bigger move because there was more years of control, and it was trying to solve for a hole at third base. They just haven't made that move that I can't see them go out and go get a Tarek Skubal or even like a Joe Ryan type of guy until they go make that move.
Yeah, I mean, Castellanos in 19 was probably the last time that they made like a big splash, really, right? I mean,
yeah.
Because even 2020, they acquired like Jose Martínez and forget who else.
Cameron
Maybin, right? They didn't really do a whole lot. They tried to get right-handed hitters to contend against left-handed pitching, but then obviously 21, we know what happened. 22, 23, they didn't really add in a major way. 22, they sold off again, but yeah.
Jamer Candelario.
I mean,
yes, fine. That ended up being a good piece, but they didn't have to give up much, and that wasn't really a big splash. He was a guy who didn't have a major track record, was having a good season, and then has also like fallen off the map pretty much since then.
Didn't they give up DJ Hurst?
DJ Hurst was a pretty good major leaguer.
Fine, you're right.
Get his ass.
I guess I don't equate that to like the Castellanos level, and I don't feel
I agree. No, it's not. But
go after you.
I don't think it's a minor move either.
Fine, but how's DJ?
I'd say like it's a B- move.
Hey,
yeah,
Tony, when
he had a good season, then Tommy John.
Bring that weak ass shit out of here, and he's gonna bite your head off.
Yeah, all right. I'm just saying, DJ Hurst has barely proven anything, and Jeimer Candelario has had almost nothing, no impact after he signed a pretty decent deal with the Reds.
He said he got paid.
Yeah, but didn't produce. Yeah, paid and then DFA. I mean, listen, I would love to be paid and then DFA. That would be fine with me. So, to answer your question, Kyle, I don't think that changes much from the Cubs' perspective. I think this is just a move that might have happened. Part of the surprise to me is that this happened prior to the trade deadline and like a week prior. This was a move that I thought they were going to give him one more start, however that lined up Friday, Saturday, and they were going to give him one more start.
Against the Yankees.
Yeah. So that was difficult. Even with Bellinger and Judge out, that's still not like an ideal team that you want to be pitching against. And so I thought maybe that was going to impact things. I thought maybe not totally a phantom IL, but maybe just something with bugging him physically. They put him on the IL and see, a couple of rehab starts, like how he fares. But either way, I thought he was going to be out of the rotation come trade deadline. And I thought Colin Ray might be the first guy out because he has the ability to pitch out of the bullpen and be successful as a long reliever. So I thought he might be the first guy out. And then JMO was either going to be out of the rotation right at the trade deadline happened if the Cubs acquired two pitchers, or like you said, when Edward Cabrera comes back. But Cabrera is going to make, they said, I think 3 rehab outings. So he's going to be mid-August at the earliest. I mean, we're talking like August 15th to 18th range at the absolute earliest that he is going to be back in the rotation. And I don't think it's a guarantee that, they're probably going to need to see something in his rehab outings because he was not good. He was arguably the Cubs' worst starter, and over the stretch that he was in the rotation, his numbers have kind of, that move so far has just not panned out. He has tantalizing potential. He has several more years of team control. But yes, anyways, I don't think it overall changes the Cubs' plan. I do think they were going to acquire a starter no matter what. I do think this might mean, though, that Colin Ray has a potential to stick in the rotation for a bit. I think he's a guy that struggled. He had over like a 15-start stretch. He had like a 5 ERA as well. Before last night, Tuesday night, he pitched well against the Cardinals. Kyle, do you have Colin Ray's numbers against the Cardinals? Because that would be the thing. He would be like clearly in a playoff rotation if the Cubs were playing the Cardinals. Outside of that, he just hasn't performed at that level.
Yeah. Sorry, I hate when these fucking. Did you hear the telemarketer call me? Did you hear that?
The spam likely.
Yeah, it's like, come on, buddy. I'm recording a podcast here.
Yeah, it's 9:08 a.m. Man, come on.
Yeah, what else would I be doing? Colin Ray against the Cardinals. It's so funny because he's not great. To say the least, but Colin Ray against the Cardinals is like Cy Young. So in his last 6 starts, and not all of these are with the Cubs, I think the last 4 are with the Cubs, he's got a 1.35 ERA and a 0.96 WHIP. He just turns into like the best starting pitcher ever against the Cardinals. And I was joking. Tarek Skubal. Yeah. I was joking with you guys yesterday. I was like, why are the Cubs favored with Colin Ray pitching on the road against the Cardinals? And then I heard on Zach Zaman on the radio say he's got just unbelievable stats in his last 5 starts. I was like, oh, maybe that's why.
It is interesting because Mitch McGreevy was going for the Cardinals, and he was really good. He had an ERA just over 3, a good WHIP, not great strikeout numbers, but he's been a good pitcher this year. And he just got smacked around. He didn't even make it out of the second inning.
His name's Mitch? I thought it was Michael.
It's Michael.
Did I say?
Isn't it?
I don't know, man.
Get his ass, Andy.
M. McGreevy was on the mound.
M. McGreevy.
It's Michael. It's Michael.
I was like, damn, I've been calling Michael forever.
Yeah, well, I barely have referred to him by both of his names.
I didn't think we would refer to him today, so don't worry.
M. McGreevy on the Cardinals. Yeah.
How about real quick? How about Ian Happ's at bat against M. McGreevy yesterday, where Tony messaged us in the middle? I was like, damn, he's definitely going to strike out. Yeah. I'm not the biggest Ian Happ fan by any stretch, but I even thought he was going to pummel one there. He was following pitches just straight back. Pitch after pitch. It was like 11, or was it a 10 pitch or 11 pitch at bat?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was the 10th or 11th pitch, yeah.
Yeah, it was like wrong. I just wanted, I don't know. Oh, I know what I said. I can't say it on here, but wrong.
Yeah, I mean, honestly though, Hap is one of the guys that we talked about. Nico and Bregman at the start. Hap is one of the guys I'm waiting for a hot streak from. He's a pretty streaky player. Seiya's been hitting well. PCA, we know what he's done the last 2 months. Nico and Bregman look like they're turning things around. It's Hap and Bush that I'm kind of waiting for in this lineup. But good news, I think, for the Cubs. One, that Hap had that kind of at bat. You feel like, and he also almost hit a home run. I think it was fouled by just a couple feet later in the game. But yeah, if Hap gets on one of his heaters, which it feels like may be coming really soon, and Michael Bush starts putting the ball in the seats a little more consistently, the Cubs can kind of afford one of these other guys to level off a little bit. So that's what makes me feel really good about this lineup. I do think that they acquire a right-handed hitter of some sort at the deadline, a guy that can just be another piece. But like Pedro Ramirez looks pretty good, a switch hitting infielder, can kind of play some DH. Conforto's been really good in a role playing in a role. And yeah, it's this lineup is great, but the rotation, the pitching staff, as we know, is where the Cubs are going to have to focus at the deadline. So I want to do a little game. Let's say the playoffs start tomorrow, and we don't know exactly what the Cubs are going to do at the deadline. But power rank the current starting pitchers to start a playoff game. Let's move Javier Assad into the rotation in Jameson Taillon's spot. That seems like that's pretty likely to happen. But of the five guys, you got Colin Ray, Javier Assad, David Peterson, Shota Managa, and Matthew Boyd. So you have those five guys. And to start with you, power rank those five guys 1 through 5, and how comfortable you'd feel with one of those guys starting a playoff game. Right?
I think it's Shota number 1. I don't think that's. I think we can all agree with Shota number 1 the way it's going, right? Like
you could give yours, and then Kyle and I'll give ours, and we'll debate.
I think I go Shota number 1. I think that's probably like just the safest. I mean, I think he's been really, really good. I think he's been the clear ace basically since I remember we had a podcast where like, oh, Kyle had a really dumb prediction that he was going to be the all-star, and then we were giving you crap for it, and then he like ever since then he's turned it on and been really, really good is what I was getting at. So like I think he's the number 1. I mean, I kind of want to go David Peterson number 2 because of outside of that one start how good he's looked. But then it's like, then I kind of have to go Boyd number 3. And as we've talked about, like 3 lefties in a row is just not great. But then do I really feel good about going Colin Ray or Javier Assad in a game 2 or game 3? I don't know. So I think I'm just going to go Shota, Peterson, Boyd, and then I'll go Ray or Javier Assad pick out of a hat. But I don't feel great about that.
So we can't pick Ben Brown because he's injured, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I guess
he's going to be a bullpen arm at best, right?
He's not. I think it's unrealistic to expect Brown to be built up to start because he's not even throwing like fully yet. There's no exact, unless I've missed it in the last day or so, there's no exact rehab plan for him, right? Like there is with Edwin Cabrera.
Right.
So like,
I mean, I saw, I think it was Rich Biesterfield posted that he was playing catch or throwing
in
Arizona.
He's throwing for sure. Yeah.
So but I mean, was that put maybe like end of August at the earliest, being optimistic for a return?
Yeah. And then he has a month to get rocking and rolling.
I don't
know shit about rehab and pitching injuries or like rehabbing from and getting your arm strength built back up.
But here's the thing. The Cubs can get Ben Brown back faster if they don't build him up fully. So if they can get him back in the rotation, if he's built up to 1 or 2 innings, they can get him back 2 weeks faster, maybe more, than if they try to build him up to be a starter. So like the same plan that Edwin Cabrera is on right now, I mean, Ben Brown doesn't have to wait 4 or 5 days in between rehab starts because he can go out there and pitch 1 inning, throw 12 pitches, whatever it may be, and then pitch again 2 or 3 days later. And he can get built up faster as soon as he gets that green light all clear. And we know how effective he can be out of the bullpen. So I think the Cubs' perspective would be and should be just get Ben Brown back in some capacity in the big leagues. And yeah, maybe he is built up to a point where he can make a 4-inning playoff start because that's really all we see from these guys most of the time, right? Is unless somebody's really humming along, that they throw 4 2/3 innings in the playoffs. And that's pretty much it. But I think Brown and Steele, if they can come back, would be weapons, potentially multi-inning relief weapons for the Cubs that got out of the bullpen. So, but yeah, Kyle, I factor that into the equation. Where are you at in power ranking these Cubs starters? You can include Cabrera and Brown in there if you want, or your caveats, however you want to put it.
All right, I'm going to go Shota first. I'm going to go David Peterson game 2. But he's only going to go an inning, and then Javier Assad's going to come in because Craig's going to use him as the opener like he did with Wade Miley in 2018 against the Dodgers. He's going to do a sneak attack. I don't know if you guys remember that at all.
I do remember that.
I don't.
Well, and
You
then
don't
there was the
remember-
one game where was it Corey Knable or one of them faced one batter as an opener?
wasn't. Yeah. And then Wade
Miley
came
threw one inning as an opener, but then he had one game where he had one guy pitch. Well, I'll look it up. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, so I'm going with that theory where Craig's going to use Javier Assad as like a sneak attack, and Javi's going to mow him down, and then a potential game 3, you go Matthew Boyd, and it's good night, Jim Kite, Cubs advance. Pretty simple.
Yeah. Andy, have you found it yet?
I'm looking up. Go ahead, continue.
All right. So yeah, I mean, all right then, Kyle. So you sort of think the David Peterson Javier Assad combo is number 2. Your game 2 starting combo.
Yeah, I'm going Javier Peterson.
Javier Peterson.
Game 2.
David Assad.
David Assad.
Yeah. Speaking of names, I have to like hesitate to sometimes David Peterson. I almost want to call him Drew, like that notorious.
Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah. I know.
The guy
I'm
from
just saying.
Schaumburg. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just
That's not too bad.
you talk about Mitch McGreevy. I've almost messed his name up before.
All right, I got it. So Wade Miley
All right.
faced one batter. He did not go a full inning. So we combined.
That's what I was saying.
You said one inning. That's why I was confused. Sorry. Okay.
No.
But yeah, Wade Miley faced one batter in what is this game 5 of the NLCS at Dodger Stadium. Wade Miley faced one batter, and then Brandon Woodruff threw 5 in the third in relief.
How pissed do you think Miley was? There's no way he knew.
I mean, he had to
right?
be in on it. He had to be in on it, so he had to have known.
We know him. He's a pretty competitive, outspoken guy. I wonder how, even if he was in on it, how that conversation went ahead of time.
It's the playoffs. It's like, oh, you don't like it? All right, fuck off.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I guess, but I would have a really
I'm sure
hard
he was
time
fine.
being- Yeah, that would be a tough one to be a starting pitcher, do your whole routine and know that you're only facing one batter. All right, so I would go pretty much the same. I think I'd go Boyd too because I just have more confidence in him right now, and David Peterson has looked great, but I think Boyd has looked really, really good his last few times out. And yeah, Peterson, I think, I want to see a little bit more from him, but I would say I think Peterson's going to be a huge factor for the Cubs down the stretch. It was a really, really nice move for the Cubs to sort of buy low on him and get a guy who's going to perform really, really well in front of this defense. Like you said, Andy, he had that one really tough start against the Cardinals, ironically, but for his 4 other outings, he's been like elite, not just good, but like elite level outings and numbers. So, but I kind of want to see a little bit more. I think you go Shota, Boyd, 1-2 right now. But I think, whoever they acquire is going to be part of that equation. Because number 3, I don't know that I feel super confident. Like you said, Andy, going 3 lefties in a row. The clear answer to me right now is some combination of Shota, Boyd, and Peterson are clearly the top 3 pitchers. And then you could easily have Colin Ray and Javier Assad in the bullpen because those are 2 guys who have pitched in relief before. But I don't know if I have a ton of confidence in one of them starting a game now. So I think the Cubs have to go out and acquire a guy. I think probably ideally a right-handed pitcher to kind of break some of this up. But they go out and acquire a guy. And you know what? I got to be honest. I would have to see a lot more from Edward Cabrera for him to even make the playoff roster in my mind, because I just think he was giving up home runs
100%.
at a heavy clip. Before he went on the IL, he was getting hit hard. He has dynamic stuff, but he has had issues with walks this year. He's had issues staying healthy. He's had issues, with the home run ball and getting hit too hard. So I would just need to see a lot more from him. But I think Kyle's point too is interesting of like, if Ben Brown does come back, then you go bullpen game. That's what the Brewers did in game 5 of the NLDS last year. Mizorowski, I think, ended up throwing 3 or 4 innings after Aaron Ashby. They sort of figured it out and pieced things together. And I could see the Cubs doing something similar to that. If
the Cubs won a bullpen game in game 5 as well.
That's true.
Did you
Well, I was just thinking of the team that won.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely.
bite his head off?
Yeah. But yes, Pomeranz went. I forgot who came right after Pomeranz. I know Shota ended up not pitching
Colin Ray, yeah.
for 2 innings, 3 innings. I can't remember.
Something like that.
I'll say 3 innings. I don't know. I don't want to look it up.
Yeah, but either way,
I'm not looking it up.
in a game 3 of a wild card series, because it looks like the Cubs are going to claim that now. If they don't sweep ahead before that, a game 3 at Wrigley Field, maybe they do go a bullpen game. Maybe it is Ben Brown, Justin Steele back, able to throw multiple innings, and you cover 4 or 5 innings from those 2 guys, and then figure it out from there. You have Ryan Rollison and whoever else you acquire at the deadline, and you have Caleb Thielbar and Dina Palencia if he's back, and Jacob Webb and all that. Just kind of figure it out. So, what is it? Was that like the pitching chaos theory? The way things are shaping up, depending on what the Cubs do at the deadline,
Yeah.
We just might see a lot of pitching chaos in the playoffs.
Yeah, because I got to think of it too as like game 3. Your game 3 starter could also be a game 1 starter, right? Like to your point, Tony. Like you got to think of it as like if you sweep, that's essentially your game 1 starter, and maybe that's why you're okay with a lefty, right? Like theoretically, like maybe you're okay with Matthew Boyd starting game 1 of the DS, but if it's a game 3, maybe then you do go to a bullpen game. All right, you're converting my opinion. I like it.
Yeah. All right. So we got a couple more topics to hit on here, but do you guys think PCA will win MVP? There's the Shohei factor of that all. Shohei's not pitched since July 3rd. He's dealing with a knee, I think like a biceps injury or something related to his arm besides the knee, the left knee issue. He hasn't pitched since July 3rd. He just was supposed to throw a bullpen sometime in the last few days, and that didn't happen. And there's no actual plan as of right now. I was just reading something this morning about it. There's no plan right now of him getting off the mound again. So he hasn't thrown at all in like 6 days, almost a week here. If he doesn't, and he would have to build up, a little bit, I think, at this point, not necessarily go on a rehab assignment, but throw like, sim game or a couple bullpens before he gets back out there. And they're going to be really careful with him. The Dodgers have already said that they have an eye on the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs. They want to win a 3rd straight championship and go deep into October. And they want Shohei to be on the mound for that. So they don't really care. They don't need him to pitch in August. They don't need him to pitch in September. They just need to feel good about him going into October. So if Shohei doesn't pitch, Andy, can PCA, we think it can, will he end up winning MVP?
I'm going to go with yes, because he's built up enough WAR, and I think his defense will build up more, will accumulate more WAR, where if there's a slump coming, maybe it mitigates it. But it really is contingent on Shohei, right? Like if they decide in late August, it's like, all right, Shohei's going to go back to pitching and he's as good as he's been, where he's literally one of the best pitchers in baseball. I think that completely changes it. And then PCA would literally have to continue this stretch where he looks like he's going to hit every ball 500 feet. Like that's kind of, or he's going to hit for the cycle every night. Like that's kind of the pace he would have to keep up if Shohei's pitching. I think he's got a real shot. Like I think what convinced me, like, and Tony, you and I talked about it last year, and like last year when there was a talk in the first half of like, oh, if PCA keeps us up, is he an MVP candidate? PCA, like, I think in the back of my mind, and I think in the back of all of our minds, we all kind of knew like, all right, well, there's going to be some drop off coming, and it came in a big way. I think there could be a drop off coming, but I think the reason that gives me optimism that it won't be as drastic as last year's the walk rate. Like, I think that is so huge. Like his ability to still get on base if he goes 0 for 3, right? Like, and he's getting the at bats at the top of the line. Like, I think that just completely changed his trajectory as a hitter, as a baseball player.
It does.
Just being able to increase the walk rate, like something so little like that, I think has been it totally changes the player. And I think that gives me the optimism that if he goes through a slump where he's not hitting for this, it doesn't look like he's going to hit for the cycle every night. Or maybe he's going to go 0 for 3, 3 or 4 nights in a row. He's still going to be getting on base a little bit where he's going to be able to create chaos, stealing bases. And then, his defense is going to be the best in baseball, that he's going to accumulate WAR, that he's going to be in the conversation. And I do wonder, I mean, Tony, you voted for awards. Like, I do wonder if maybe there's like voters who think, hey, he did it for the whole season, playing every single day. Like, I think that's a real thing, right? Whereas like Shohei was just a DH or pitching every fifth. Like, I think all that factors in that maybe it helps PCA's case.
I think the big factor too is I totally get the Shohei argument. He's done. He's a unicorn. Babe Ruth didn't even perform at this level, both hitting and pitching at the same time. So it's just something we haven't seen in 150-ish years of baseball history, that it's just unlike anything we've seen. And as you said, Andy, Shohei was arguably the best pitcher in baseball, or at least in the National League, when he was pitching. But if he's not going to pitch from basically, beginning of July on, he's going to go 3 or 4 months without notable pitching numbers, then like how can he win the MVP? Because he's not having a 50-50 season. He's not doing what he did 2 years ago offensively. He's still a really good offensive player, but even offensively, PCA has been more valuable than Shohei has. And you have to factor in, I mean, so many players have won MVP without defense at all, right? Like from the Cubs perspective, in '98, Sammy Sosa won MVP. He wasn't known as a great defender at that point. He had a strong arm and he accrued a lot of WAR, but that was almost all entirely based on offense. PCA, he's not pitching, but he's taken away so many runs and given his team so many extra outs with his incredible defense. He's arguably the best defender in baseball, regardless of position. So that is a factor too. He's a two-way player in a little bit different way than we've seen, and then MVP voters have voted for in the past. That looking at just offensive numbers and things like homers and RBIs, which isn't a major factor in awards now, just like wins isn't for pitching, but yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting, compelling case. The longer Shohei is out, the better chance that PCA has. And like you said, Andy, I think it's important too over the final 2 months of the season. PCA doesn't have that like precipitous drop that we saw him basically from the last 2 months.
Great word.
Yeah, thanks. Kyle,
I don't know what that means. Precipitous?
I just want to add one thing on that. Sorry, the DH conversation with Shohei Ohtani. Like,
yeah,
he's not having the year that you mentioned. Like, I think if it was going to be strictly based on DH, the only way Shohei would contend with PCA would be like if he's having Yordan Alvarez type year, right? Or Yordan is going to could potentially win the Triple Crown, not only in the American League, but like in all of baseball, right? Like he's leading the three major categories. He is literally changing, like he is playing at a whole different level offensively. That's the only way I could see. Like if Shohei turns up to that level, then I would be like, yeah, maybe PCA's got a real tough uphill climb to win the MVP.
Did you guys hear the Yordan homer Tuesday night? Did you hear that?
Yeah, what the hell was that?
Insane.
I don't.
It was awesome.
I can't recall. Somebody put a Shohei homer when he was with the Angels
against Dylan Cease, right?
Yeah.
I don't
remember
know.
that one.
I don't know exactly, but I don't remember hearing the Shohei homer. I just saw the highlights yesterday when I was looking. But that Yordan, I mean, that sounded like they piped in, like they were making a movie and they piped in a sound effect. That's what that sounded like.
It was pretty cool. It did sound like that.
Oh my God.
There's got to be something with like where the mics are and the way like the home plate area is shaped. I don't know. I could be wrong on all those fronts. It sounded like a firecracker though.
Oh my
God.
So
cool. That's how all bats should sound.
That was one of the cooler things. I've watched and heard and seen so many baseball highlights, but that was one that genuinely, like, I listened to it over and over again with my mouth open. I was like, holy crap, that was incredible.
With your mouth wide open.
Yes. Kyle, will PCA win MVP?
No. End of discussion.
Why?
No, I'm kidding. I don't know. Is he the favorite? What are his odds? Do you know?
I think Shohei's still favorite last I checked.
But I think you have to factor in what we know about Shohei. He's not going to pitch probably at least the next 2 or 3 weeks, and potentially longer. It would not be a surprise to see him go the whole rest of August without pitching. So then he's got 2 full months without pitching.
Yeah, it's tough. I want to say no, just because it's Shohei and he's such a big name, global phenomenon. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'll say this: if Shohei doesn't pitch, obviously I'll say it's 50-50 at best for PCA, maybe 60-40. If Shohei goes back to pitching, there's no chance. I just don't think there's any chance for PCA. And it's not, I mean, it's Shohei. That's kind of what my big argument there. One thing on Shohei, this is kind of crazy. So you brought up his 50-50 season in 2024. Before that, he never even had 30 stolen bases. And then he just went off for 59. This guy's a freak.
Yeah.
What the hell?
And then he has 6 this year. Yeah, he never even had more than 26 in a season. He had 59 stolen bases in 20.
And he has 6 this year. It's
kind of, this is not like totally correlated, but it kind of reminds me of like when everyone was giving Wilson Contreras crap for like, oh, he can't be a good game caller or a good framer and stuff. And then there was one season where he's like, all right, watch me. And he like turned it up and like became one of the better defensive catchers. And then after that, he's like, all right, I showed you, I'm not going to do it anymore. That's kind of like what it is. Like Shohei's like, oh, I can't run. Like,
is that a thing?
He was like 19 or 18. I'll look it up. Go ahead. Tangent aside.
Yeah, it's sort of like the Josh Naylor going 30-30, one of the most improbable 30-30s. He's like, Naylor's like in the 1 percentile, first percentile of sprint speed in baseball. And yet he's like base running runs added. He's like in the 90th percentile or something. It's kind of incredible. But, or even that year that Anthony Rizzo, the thing that I kind of equate to 15, he was on pace to go 30-30 at one point. He finished with 17 stolen bases, but it was like, oh yeah, Rizzo's not that fast. He's not going to run. And then he's like, bam, watch me. I'll steal 17 bases in a season. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, I guess. But no Shohei.
No, but here's the thing. So Shohei's I think the stolen bases are down because he's been dealing with a knee injury all year, but he's only on pace for 35 homers, 97 RBI, 101 runs, and 95 walks. That is a huge drop from his first 2 years in LA, the Dodgers rather, where he averaged 54 homers per season, 116 RBI and 140 runs scored. He's down. His numbers just overall offensively are down. Now he's incredible, incredible pitcher in that stretch as well. But I do think it's a conversation. I think it's going to be a really interesting run if PCA continues down this stretch over 2 months, which may be difficult to ask, but he's done it the last 2 months. And Shohei doesn't pitch. It's going to be a really, really interesting race. Much more interesting than last year. And Andy, like you said, I think, I was at the forefront of kind of making jokes or talking about the pace that PCA was on. But I think we always knew that he was playing over his head a bit and some of the underlying numbers. It didn't seem like PCA was really going to be an MVP conversation at the end of the year, and then he wasn't, and Shohei ran away with it. So this year feels a lot different, and it's also much later in the year. We're talking about it in July 29th now. That's quite a bit different, and it seems like the two guys are sort of trending in opposite directions, VP odds-wise. But yeah, all right. So we'll keep an eye on the PCA Shohei MVP race in the final 2 months of the season. Andy, before we close, let's do That Guy Rocks. We didn't get to it last week with all the trade deadline talk, but you have a That Guy Rocks submission this week. Kyle and I will guess. Those of you guys new to this, it's just a player in Cubs tenure that had a good stretch. You liked for whatever reason, whatever it is, and Kyle and I will try to guess it.
So this guy, a quick backstory. He came up. His name popped up during the draft. And I was like, who'd you say?
Nafy Perez.
No, I did consider him.
Eric Miles.
He came. No, he's a pitcher. He came up during the draft, and I was like, ooh, that's a good That Guy rocked. His name came up during the draft, and I'll explain why afterwards. But he is a pitcher. That is your first clue. He is a right-handed pitcher.
That nails it down.
One-time All-Star. I'm gonna keep like slowly funneling. And
did he play for the Cubs at all?
He did. He played 3 seasons with the Cubs. His best years were with the Cubs. He played for 4 different teams. He made his major league debut in 1998 with the San Diego Padres. He is a Pennsylvania native.
Nothing there.
Went to Butler Area High School in Pennsylvania. He was a one. Did I say I started for it? He was a one-time All-Star in 2005. Not with the Cubs.
2005 All-Star game was in Detroit.
That's not helpful information, Kyle. Unless you can name the whole roster. Yeah.
His best year.
Mid-July.
His best year with the Cubs, he posted a 3.6 ERA. And was 12-11. Logged 205 innings.
What the fuck?
Played parts of 9 seasons. Had an 87-86 record. 4.47 ERA. Made 236 starts. 238 games overall.
Was he a right-handed pitcher?
Yeah.
Did you say that already?
Yeah, he did to start.
Right-handed pitcher. I hope somebody.
What other teams did he play for? Padres, Cubs. What were 1 or 2?
Padres, Cubs. Red Sox and Marlins. He made 2 playoff starts for the Cubs.
I was going to say Ryan Dempster, but that doesn't make sense, right?
No, it's not Dempster.
No, because Dempster played for the Rangers too. And he started with the Marlins.
Made 2 playoff starts for the Cubs. Then he made 1 playoff start for the Red Sox.
Man, this is a good one.
I know.
All right.
He looks like Abraham Lincoln.
Matt Clement?
Yep.
Oh, that is a good That Guy rock. Yeah.
I didn't know he started with the Padres.
Yeah. He hold on, I'll go back and pull up his I was looking up his playoff log, but he debuted with the Padres in 98 and then pitched another season with them in 99, 2000. So 2 more seasons. And then moved to Florida, the Marlins, and then the Cubs before finishing his career with the Red Sox. So he
and I knew he was from Pennsylvania. You tossed out Matt Clement like you were hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, so I was. So I was covering the White Sox a couple weeks ago during the draft. And one of the guys the White Sox took was coached in Matt Clement's a high school baseball and basketball coach in Pennsylvania, and so the guy that got drafted,
that's what you said,
was Matt Clement. Yeah, so that's why his name popped up. I'm like, oh yeah, and I was like, that's gonna be my next That Guy rock.
That's a good one, man. How did the Cubs not win more when they had a rotation of Kerry Wood, Mark Pryor, Matt Clement, Carlos Zambrano, and even a late career but still Greg Maddux? How did they not win more games? With those guys making like 27 to 30 starts.
I have that Sports Illustrated cover of those 5 on there. Just like 5 aces.
Yeah.
And they won.
Yeah, I was looking up that rotation
going into the last week of the season.
They had it was they had Maddox, Zambrano, Clement, Wood, and Pryor. All of them, or 3 of them, logged 180 innings or more. Like they were, and all of them. The worst one, like by ERA, was Mark Pryor with a 4.02. Like he'd be like the Cubs ace right now, like the current Cubs ace.
And no Cubs pitcher is going to get to 180 innings this year, right? I mean, Shota possibly, but
Shota's probably going to be the only one that comes close to being qualified, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, that's crazy, man.
But
That was a good
maybe they
deck.
acquire somebody who gets who has 180 innings.
Shota
this
has
year.
121 this year, so he'll probably get, barring injury, he should get to 160.
Yeah, but not even 180 though. That's kind of nuts.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Interesting. All right. Well, that was a good That Guy Rock. That was I feel like one of the longer ones that took us more clues and more guesses than it has in the past.
Mhm.
That'll do it for this week's edition of the Windy City Breakdown. We'll come to you next week after the Cubs trade deadline haul. We'll kind of grade and evaluate how the Cubs did, the moves that they made at the deadline. And we'll probably get into Bears a little bit because training camp is really kind of getting underway. So we'll probably touch a little bit on the Bears and what they're doing and some of the camp storylines. But that'll do it for this week. For Kyle and Andy, I'm Tony. Thanks as always for tuning in.